What's going on, everybody? It's Pelfrey, and I'm going to do a voiceover, so bear with me. There may be some back and forth on my end, but I got a lot to cover, and I'm going to try to do this the best that I can. Recently, I just put out a video of the tank under just the Kessils and the T5s. After I did that, I looked at the tank at night, and some of the feeders that were coming off the corals were absolutely crazy to me because I'd never seen that before. But in my defense, I never really paid much attention to it either. So I really need to look and try to find a flashlight. I think that AquaMaxx sells a flashlight where you can shine it into the tank and it doesn't disrupt or disturb any of the corals and change any of the behavior of any of the creatures that are inside the tank. I've also noticed some very, very small, like orange worms, and I'm not really sure what they are. Number one. Number two, I'm really not all that concerned about it. The only time I see them is at night, but it is always very interesting to look at the tank at night, and I've made it a point to really get in there and pay attention to it at night versus when the lights are on, just because you see a lot of different things that you normally wouldn't see. So if you have any suggestions on any kind of lights that I can get, then please feel free to leave that in the comment section below. And what you're seeing right now, I apologize, it was a little bit blurry, but I'm using the camera on my cell phone, and I'm trying to just do the best that I can. With that being said, I do want to thank everyone for their support. It has kind of re-energized me and just got me back into getting things done on the tank that I really needed to get done. So I've really put a lot of work into it over the last couple of weeks, and I'm really looking forward to where we're going with the Red Sea Reefer 250. And that Scully, you can see it is just absolutely amazing. And I've never really seen it act like that. And here you can see it under the Kessils and the T5s. So you can see how much of a difference the corals act under no light. Now, mind you, I am using the Neptune lunar lights, so it does replicate a moon cycle, but that really doesn't change any of the activity in the tank whatsoever. And you can see the snails are very, very active at night, more so than whenever the lights are on. And I know at some point the snails have laid eggs, because at night you will see baby snails all over the tank, and I highly encourage that for my tank. I'm very happy that that's taking place. And this part of the video, you can see it's just a shadow there. I thought it was interesting. But these Halloween hermit crabs have they've been very fun to watch, and I haven't had them in the tank very long, so this is a new species to me. So I'm really enjoying watching these hermit crabs, or excuse me, Halloween crabs, just go around the tank and clean things up. And every once in a while they'll bump over a coral, but I don't mind that. That's just the way that nature works. And like I said, I just want to thank everyone for just kind of walking me through the downtime that I had with the tank here recently. It has been amazing that everyone showed me the amount of support that they've shown me. So it's really just got me back into it. So I can't say thank you enough. Recently I also passed 2,000 subscribers, so I want to say thank you to everyone that has followed along on the journey. If you're new here, stick around. There's going to be a lot more content to come, but I do appreciate each and every one of you for stopping by and watching my videos and just really helping me along whenever I have problems with my tank or different concerns or whatever, because this is not a blanket statement. I really have to do my own research and try to figure things out on my own, and then I'll reach out for help, and I'm definitely not opposed to help, and I definitely don't know it all, so not really probably the best teacher in the world. I'm just trying to show people what I've done with my particular tank, and then just kind of go from there. So as always, I would suggest that at any time you do your own research and figure out what's going to be best for you and the setup that you have that you're going to maintain. So this is very interesting. You can see on the middle of the screen there is a white bug there. I don't know if it's a flatworm or not, and I just happened to catch it one day, and I decided, well, I'm going to try to capture this on video, and maybe somebody can identify what it is exactly. To me, it's very blurry on the camera. It's hard to tell, but it does look like a flatworm. And what happens here shortly is pretty amazing, and the fact that I was able to catch it on camera is even more amazing. So here you can see that the yellow tang is trying to get this flatworm or worm, whatever it is, off the glass, but unfortunately the yellow tang is struggling with it. But of course that has drawn the attention of the other fish, and you can see here the clownfish came over, got it off the glass, and that was the end of whatever that was. So it's pretty neat that the fish were able to spot what that is, and that it was moving around, and come over and investigate it, and ultimately the clownfish took care of it. So I don't know if it was a good worm, a bad worm, I don't know any of that, but it is no longer in the system. So there's going to be a part of this video that is going to probably be controversial. This is not the best representation of an anthias, but I've tried to keep anthias multiple times, and I've not done very well at it. You will know whenever we get to the part of the video that's pretty controversial. So, you know, if that offends anyone, I apologize up front. Unfortunately, there's really not much else you can do in this hobby whenever a fish passes away. So whenever we get to that point, you'll just be able to, you know, close your eyes or whatever. I'm sorry in advance, but felt like it was worth showing. So you can see the bird's nest here. Part of it's dead, but the rest of it is pretty well thriving. And I probably need to get in there and start fragging pieces off of it, but I'm just kind of letting it do its thing. This is another, just a small frag of a bird's nest in a different location. It's doing well. And at this point, just the Kessils are on, so the blue is pretty well fading out any of the true colors of the corals. But I've done as good of a job recently as pulling anything that's on a frag plug off of the frag plug and getting it glued to the rock work, so that to minimize the frag plugs in the tank, number one, and number two, just get everything into a fixed location so that it can grow out and be happy, and I don't have to disturb it anymore. You can see here the Aquatic Life T5 fixture. I love having the T5s on the tank. It has absolutely changed the way that the tank looks. The light coverage is definitely there. I don't have to worry about the light coverage anymore. So at this point, it is water change day. I got 5 gallons of water made up, and a bucket that I'm pumping water out of the sump into. And recently I've been taking water out of the sump. It's just easier to pump it out of the sump and then pump it back versus siphon out of the display and then dumping buckets back into the display. So what I've been doing is just leaving the auto top off on, and then draining the water, and then filling the water up, and then taking water out as needed until the sensor on the auto top off has been leveled out. That way I don't have to move the sensor. I don't even have to touch it or anything. So I like to remove a little bit extra water just to make sure that the auto top off is going to run correctly, and that's worked for me. So I've been doing bi-weekly 5-gallon water changes, and it's worked for me alongside of the Tropic Moran balling method, parts A, B, and C. I'm doing about 2 or 3 milliliters of the A, B, and C every day. I'm hand dosing at the moment. I'm actually waiting for a doser to arrive that I picked up on some of the Black Friday sales. So I'm interested to get a doser and see how accurate it is, number one. Just get it automated overall, because I'm hand dosing 3 times a day, and I just want to get that part automated so I don't have to worry about it, especially if I'm going to be gone or whatever. This big, beautiful wrasse, for some reason, has been acting strange. He's been eating just fine, but definitely keep an eye on him, because, like I said, I've lost a couple fish over the last probably week or so. There's no rhyme or reason. All of the fish have been eating and acting as they normally would, so I have no explanation whatsoever as to what is going on with the fish. At this point of the video, you can probably hear that pump there. It's just a cheap Sun pump, and it is extremely loud. I get 2 of these, I think, off Amazon or eBay for like $9. It's not expensive at all for these pumps, so I usually get them just to mix up salt water. I'm not using them for anything else, so they're pretty much just throwaway pumps for me. I've got another Sun pump in the bucket now, and it is dead silent. So needless to say, although it is in the garage, that racket from the bucket is pretty annoying, so I went ahead and threw it away. There's the controversial part of it anyway. The Anthias unfortunately did not make it. That is the 2nd or 3rd time I've tried to keep an Anthias in the tank. It has not been successful for me, so I had to, well, he passed away, so I got rid of him. The lunar lights on the tank, I know I spoke about that earlier, has been awesome. I really wish I could pick up on some of the corals under the lunar lights. Of course, this representation is pretty shoddy, but looking at it is pretty awesome. I've been using just regular filter floss and canisters over the pond matrix, and it works well. You can see here that it's time to pretty much change it because it's running over the first chamber. So what I normally do is I just swap them back and forth, and then whenever they get extremely dirty, I pull them out, turn the skimmer off for about 10 or 15 minutes, and then replace it so that the skimmer cup doesn't overflow. And the Nyos 120 skimmer has been absolutely amazing for me and been doing work for quite some time. So dead silent, and it does take a little bit of time to get it tuned in, but for the most part, that skimmer is it's amazing, and I would definitely recommend the Nyos 120 skimmer. I've not used any of the bigger, the 160 or the 220, so take my word on it. It's probably a good skimmer as well. I went a little above and beyond whenever I cleaned my screen the last time, but you can see it is still growing algae quite well. The light schedule on the Rain 2 has now been cut down to about 16 hours to just try to increase some nutrients in the tank. So we'll kind of see how that goes. And I have some of Rico's Reef Tank's Frags sitting in this bucket of water. Now that is a bucket of salt water that I took out of the tank, and it's in there with a heater and a power head. Unfortunately, I have to go back to work, so the frags are going to sit right there for about 5 more hours, and then I will come home and go through the whole procedure and get them into the tank. So everything showed up just fine and dandy. You can see here, he's using specimen cups here. So everything is doing well. There is 1 or 2 that had snapped off the frag plug, which is fine. It's no big deal, just a little bit of glue. And this is one of them there. So it has come off the frag plug, so a little bit of glue can fix that. It's not an issue. This is the other one. So still not an issue. All it takes a little bit of glue and I can get them where they need to go. So anyway, they will sit inside of this container for the next 5 hours, and I will get them into the tank. So here the coral are out of the specimen cups and into some salt water. If you don't know about Rico's Reef Tank, I'll leave a link to his channel in the description below. Basically, someone on one of the live streams convinced him to do a Black Friday sale. First 10 people got frag packs. I think he done 11 people. So thank you for the corals. They're absolutely beautiful, and they're starting to color up quite well in my system. It was definitely a seamless and easy process. Unfortunately, he doesn't have a website, but you can reach out to him, and he will be more than happy to help you with any of your coral needs. And shipping, none of it was an issue whatsoever. If you've ever bought coral online, you know, I would definitely suggest checking out Rico. You know, I know some people are a little bit reserved whenever it comes to getting coral shipped overnight, but I've done it a couple times, and previous to Rico and with Rico, all of the transactions have been perfectly fine by me. So, which I talk to Rico on a regular basis anyway. I didn't expect anything otherwise. So I did go ahead and pick up a Ocean's Wonders mag rack, frag rack. And this thing looks like typical black egg crate, but it is not. It is very nice. And the reason why I picked this up is because I wanted something to put on the back of my glass in between the overflow and the glass. And it fit perfectly in between the overflow and the glass on the Red Sea Reefer 250. And the good thing about the frag plug is whenever you're looking at the tank from the front, you can barely even see that the frag rack's there because I got it below the rocks. So it's it blends in well, and it's going to work for me. Typically, I don't like to have frag racks in my tank. I know that I've had that corner frag rack in for a while, but that one blends in quite a bit better. So this is another frag rack. We're going to do just some quick top-down shots with the flow off. You can see there's the bird's nest again in the middle of it is struggling, but the rest of the bird's nest for the moment, you know, knock on wood, is thriving. I don't do many top-down shots, and you can see here that the T5s and the Kessels are both running, so it's kind of hard to get a good picture just because of the reflection there. And every once in a while, the wrasses like to come up and agitate the water, so that does mess up the camera just a little bit as well. But everything seems to be doing well. I have definitely no complaints. I will definitely update in the future and show you guys where I mounted the corals to the rock. Some of them in the video have already been mounted to the rock. As I just went through there, some of the hammers were still in the sand bed. Unfortunately, there's the Anthias. That's where I found it one night whenever I came home from work. You can see the shrimp was actually over on top of the Anthias a moment ago. And whenever I walked over to it, the shrimp decided that he was going to venture elsewhere for the time being. So I reached in there with the net, got him out, pulled him out, and flushed him down the toilet. I really don't know if there's a better way to handle that. Please let me know. I'm definitely not trying to start a fight with anybody, but unfortunately, in this hobby, this is just part of it. And of course, there's the yellow tang. It's unfortunate. The next morning, I woke up and the yellow tang was stuck to the bottom of my gyre pump.